I hope this is working. I'm live streaming this iPhone 12 Pro Max, and I wonder how many of you guys have seen this pretty annoying problem. I know it trolled me for a while when I first saw this a long time ago. Oh Lord, I gotta connect stuff. Where's my glasses? All right, we're gonna boot up this iPhone 12 Pro Max, and I'm booting it with a known good eye socket. So the board has been split in half, top board, bottom board put in the eye socket. I'm adding my known good battery. I've got a known good charge port, and I've got a known good screen. So we use these all the time, and they are verified working parts. So let's prompt it up to boot. So we're gonna boot this iPhone 12 Pro Max, at least in theory. Boot up. That's not cool. What's your deal? You should be able to boot up. Boot up, little buddy. Somebody hurt you? What's the matter? You can't boot up? All right, let's prompt it to boot with the charge port over here and see if we can get this sucker to boot. Or are we going to have to start with troubleshooting? Here we go, booting up a regular iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now this is here for data recovery with a complaint that the phone appears to charge when you plug it into USB charger, but it shows you this weird fake, there it is, temperature warning. Have you guys seen this where the phone says that it needs to cool down before you can use it? Now, I've seen that message on my own phone if I leave it out. I saw that the other day. I left it out while I was fixing my boat. I was learning how to change the spark plugs on my boat, and I had my phone just kind of out on a white dock, and it got really hot, and it showed me that temperature message, and I really did have to cool it down. Now the 12 Pro Max here is not hot. There's nothing hot about this scenario. So right now we have a fake temperature. Phone needs to cool down so you can use it, but it's not hot. So we've got the iPhone 12 Pro Max fake temperature warning. How do we get past this in order to type in that passcode and get all the photos and videos off of this device? So this problem, when I first saw it, I did what you guys already know how to do, which is rule number one. We're going to make sure that it's not a parts problem. So what I did is I said, well, let's just start eliminating variables. Let's see what happens, since charge ports are an example of, something that kind of goes bad a lot. Let's just take the charge port out of the equation. All right, so now we're gonna disconnect, reconnect the battery, and we're gonna ask it to boot up with no charge port. Man, getting old. I really can't see. Like, that's shameful. Okay, but how can I ask it to turn on now, since I was prompting it to boot through the dock and I just took that off? Here's an idea. Let's connect the dock, but just for a second. We're going to connect the dock or the charge port. All right, it's connected just long enough to prompt it to boot. So we're going to prompt it to boot, and then we're going to rip it off and see what happens. Now, this is a known good charge port. It's brand new. It doesn't have anything wrong with it. I've used it to charge and recover data from lots of phones. All right, so we're prompting it to boot just until we see that Apple logo. There it is. Okay, now let's rip it out real quick. There we go. So we've eliminated the charge port. Get out of here, charge port. And now let's see if we still see that temperature warning. And let's see, I'm going to connect over here. This is live. So on chat, is this live? This is live right now, happening now. Eventually it'll turn into a video, but right now it's live. All right, so did you see what happened? Look at that. It booted up, and look at that cute little baby. We've got to get these pictures, guys. This mom wants these pictures. So what's up with that? Is that a fluke or what? Is the temperature error, does it really have something to do with the charge port? That doesn't make sense. Let's kind of go back. If you're just joining us, let's kind of review this problem. How many of you guys have seen this fake temperature warning on your iPhone 12 Pro Max? So all I'm going to do is plug that charge port, my known good charge port. I'm going to plug it back in. Oh yeah, look at that. Did you see me? I connected something without having to put my glasses on. Woo-hoo-hoo! All right, now Let's prompt it to boot again. All right, so this time I'm going to leave that charge port connected while it tries to boot up. So there's our Apple logo. And with the charge port connected on this iPhone 12 Pro Max, using all known good parts, let's see what happens. Let me see who in chat has seen the fake temperature. There it is. See that? The temperature warning. All right, temperature warning. So I can't get past here. I can't enter the passcode. Give me my passcode. Let me make an emergency call. So it has touch, but it won't let me get into iOS and unlock and get the pictures. So this is this fake temperature warning. It's not hot. And as we just saw, we can get rid of that problem. This was the first thing that I noticed. And I thought that it was a charge port problem. It's not a charge port problem. I thought that it was for a long time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate the known good charge port, and we're going to prompt it to boot without that thing. So let me plug in my battery. Oh, Lordy. I need to get like a young person here. I've had young people here all day. Everybody just left, and just borrow their eyes to do these. God bless it. God bless America. Oh my gosh. How many of you guys have ruined your eyesight without actually getting old? Is it me getting old, or is it me just looking down a microscope 16 hours a day? What's up? Why can't I see anymore? All right, now I want to prompt to boot. So I can prompt to boot if I can figure out where the power button is and kind of simulate a power button press, but that's going to be a little bit hard with my eyes. So here's what I'm going to do just to prove to you guys that the charge port is somehow related to this problem. God bless it. This stream, I'm going to have to delete this. It's just too embarrassing. All right, now here's what we're going to do again. This is repeat. This is live, by the way, so if you're just joining us, I'm repeating the example here. Let's see what happens. We just saw this boot up to the temperature warning and wouldn't let us go any further with the charge port plugged in. Let's prompt to boot with a charge port and then rip it out. Just rip it right out of there so that when it's actually booting up, the charge port is not present. So charge port's only here so that I can prompt it to boot here on my desk. So I'm going to look for that Apple logo. There it is. All right, now let's rip it out. Rip it out real quick. There it is. Ripped it out. Now what's happening? Okay, it's now booting, but I've eliminated this charge port variable. And this is what I did the first time I saw this. And hey, look at that, it boots. And you know what's crazy? Look at this. We can actually plug this back in right now because it's already kind of gotten past some sort of a point during the boot up section where it cares about this thing. So now we can actually charge the battery with this charge port and it'll be totally fine. It won't even care anymore. Yeah, see, there we go. So now we've got our charge port plugged in. It's charging the battery. And we could extract data from this. However, we're going to get into one of those 3-minute boot loops, right? 3-minute loops. Oh, the terrible 3-minute loops. So the 3-minute loops are related to this fake temperature problem because it's all about sensors, thermal sensors. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use this case to figure out exactly what sensor it is that triggers this weird thermal, fake temperature problem, right? This is a great case for this. So let me check over here. How are we doing? Let's see. A bunch of people been blind as a bat. A bunch of people are blind. Haven't seen it, have heard of it. Okay, somebody got a notification. All right, metaphysically hot. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, and this is why I really like this case. The reason why, you ready? The reason why we get the fake temperature error on the 12 Pro Max is actually a communication problem between the top board and the bottom board. Now, why does that happen? That happens when these phones get really bad drop, really bad run over. Now, a lot of times on these 12 Pros, 12 Pro Maxes, it will crack the PMU like the next case in the box. A lot of times it cracks the CPU, but it will often rip up tons of pads that connect that top and the bottom board. So it's one of those pads that must communicate between the top and the bottom board in the 12 Pro Max. Not true in the 12 Pro. This is just a disease of the 12 Pro Max. Now, this case, it was actually a fairly minor, fairly minor damage to the phone. So here's the back of the phone, and the front was, pretty like not that bad, So it's a little bit of back glass damage. So this is kind of a mild case, which makes it a great one to learn on. What we're going to do is we're going to take this out of the eye socket. So here is the top board. Here is the eye socket pogo pin interposer board, and here is the bottom board. All right, so the problem is going to be some kind of a communication problem that has to do with temperature sensing between these two guys. All right, so let's go under the microscope and see if we can find it. And this one is going to be a quick find. So let's head under the microscope together. And wow, these like really, wow, look at how it like just kind of like glued itself back together. Look at that. There we go. All right, so here we are under the microscope, and let's take a look. All right, so the problem is going to be a top board problem, and let's look at all the possibilities that we have as we look at this board. All right, so on this top board, this is the top of the top board, nothing wrong there. And this is the bottom side of the top board. And look at that, we can see a strip. You see that right there? There's a strip of, oh, I don't like it when the green screen makes a shadow. What's up with you? Can you chill? There we go. The little strip here where you can see all these ripped up and missing pads. Look at that. So we've got a whole bunch of these. I betcha that the reason that we have our fake temperature error is one of these missing connections. And I already know which one it is because I did an experiment, and then I thought, this would make a really cool video because I want to do another experiment. And hopefully you guys will give me some good ideas for the second experiment that I haven't done. So let me tell you what I did first. First, I said, which one of these mofos is the one causing this fake temperature error? Let's head to ZXW and see if you guys can help figure out which one it is. So it could be any of these that are torn. So let's head to ZXW. So let's pull that up. Where is it? Here we go. ZXW. All right, let's head over there. And now we're looking in this relative area. Oh, good. I love to see the gray. Gray is ground. Here, we'll toggle the ground off and on, off and on. Look at that. Okay, so any pad that's missing that's ground, we don't care, right? Because this board's got plenty of ground. It does not need any one particular one of these grounds in order to connect each other, in order to prevent the temperature error. So it's not any of those. So now let's kind of go back and kind of like toggle back and forth between our board and ZXW. Maybe we can even pull ZXW kind of like over so that we can kind of see them in the same view. All right, so this top row along here, ground, 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 ground. And we can see that there is a limited number of pads that are under here in this bottom row, and then a couple of them along this top row here. So those are our possibilities. And then as we kind of come along this area, there is a few more possibilities here. All right. And then that's it, right? For the whole rest of the board, look, all these pads, they're totally intact, which is why I love this case. It's really kind of already narrowed down for us. We know that the problem here is some kind of disconnect between the top board and the bottom board, and it's going to be one of these missing pads. And these missing pads are like 80% ground, so we only have a handful of pads that could be the reason for this problem that is a really annoying problem. So let's go to just ZXW, and we're going to drill down to the level that we can actually see the names of these lines. So let's kind of go and say, I'm not sure which ones of these are missing or not. All right, so let's look here. On this bottom row, VDD main, VDD main, VDD main, that's not going to be it because some of those VDD main connections are there. So that's unlikely. All right, so let's kind of see what else is going on down here. A bunch of VDD main. So we're going to eliminate all of that VDD main is in the don't care pile. All right, so could it be, bing, number 518, general purpose AP to BB core dump? Maybe, but that doesn't sound like sensor or temperature. Maybe it is, and I would keep that on our radar screen, but I'm going to put that at sort of like not my first thought. All right, then we've got this thing, Bluetooth, the bottom speaker. No, that's not going to be why we are getting a fake temperature. So we're looking for sensor temperature, thermal, or NTC is a word, negative temperature coefficient, that the thermistor systems in these devices use a lot. So that's what we're really looking for. What else do we have down here? Something audio sync, NFC, BB time mark, UART, always on processor, NFC, what else? UART 3VOS2. I'm looking for something that seems like it would be a sensor line. Hey, NTC, ding, negative temperature coefficient, thermistor, sensors, heat, thermal. That's a match, right? We've got two matches right there. So we've got in this little section, number 487, number 489, these guys say NTC. That's sensing temperature. And we know that these problems are, a problem with sensing temperature. It thinks it's hot, but it's not really hot. So what's up with that? So let's see if there's anything else in this area that might also be going hand in hand. And the answer is no. So we've looked at all of our possibilities that are in the area of missing pads, and there's really two right here. So let's go look and see if we are actually even missing those two, because that's where our thoughts are going right now. All right, what do you guys, which one do you guys think it's going to be? So here at this little cutout in the board, there's a little cutout underneath there, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to look to see if we have number 1 and 2. So let's go ahead to that. So Flannelist says, my money is on there being an NTC line in here. You got it. All right, let's see. So let's see how to get rid of ZXW so that we can go and find out if those NTC lines are actually missing in our case. How do I get rid of this? Ding, figured it out. Okay, here's our little cutout, and look at that. Aha, someone has been here before. Spoiler alert, it was me! I have been here earlier today solving this problem, then decided to make it into a video, and I put some green blob to cover up this pad here, because when I got here earlier today, it looked just like that. Let me kind of make that more clear, right? So when I first looked at this phone, these two pads, these are the two NTC pads. One of them was intact, and it still is, and the other one was like a missing pad, like any of these up here. It looked like that. And now it looks like this. And the reason that it's silver there instead of copper colored is because I did what you guys are gonna want to do. Why don't we stick a solder lug on that pad, rebuild that pad, and see if our temperature error goes away. And let's go ahead and do that really quick, because I've already done that, but I want to prove this to you guys live. So we're going to do it really quick. We're going to repair that missing NTC pad, and then we're going to actually see, what does the phone do? All right. So it's a pretty simple little fix here. We're going to put some flux on it, and then we're going to tin those little nubs, right? Tin them up. Now, it would be the same thing if I was working on one that nobody had been there before. You would just kind of put a little flux and, turn them from copper to tin solder so that it's ready to accept a piece of copper on it, right? The replacement pad. Now, where am I going to get the new pad? iPad Rehab store, so iPadRehab.com. Click over to the supply store, and you will see all the stuff that we use to do anything around here, including the iPad Rehab tweezers, the iPad Rehab solder lugs, which are these guys, right? The little stickers, and we use these. This is probably my top favorite of the, you know, new products that came out this year. So we'll grab a solder lug, and they're really easy to work with. In fact, you can still see the one that I had on there that I took off in order to be able to kind of recreate the problem for the video. This one really gave me a heart attack though, because once I was able to kind of explore this a little bit, I wanted to kind of go back in a time machine and recreate the original problem, and it wouldn't let me do that. All right, so when I work with these, what I do first is I tin them. Oh yeah, I put one there too. I tin them so that they are, you know, shiny, and then I flip them over. Oh, there's my guy from last time. Flip them over, and then tin the other side. All right, so our spot, remember there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row, NTC, NTC. So this is our spot right here. So I just heat it up until I think that it has kind of made a bond with those tinned little vias that are coming up from below. All right, that's probably on there, but there's really only one way to know for sure. And what is it? How do I know for sure without guessing that that solder lug is actually soldered to the little nubs that are coming up from below? Let's clean it off and let's see if chat can tell me how do I know for sure. Let's see. Was wondering why the solder mask was already there. Oh, there goes one little random one. Oh yeah, that was my original guy, and he just got flicked away. All right. I thought this was like a really cool topic because this problem has cost me some serious time once I realized that I thought it was bad charge port because of what I showed you guys. But then every single time you could just you could plug that charge port back in, but it wouldn't stay on for longer than 3 minutes, which is a real drag when you need to recover more than 3 minutes worth of data. All right, what are we gonna do? We are going to, we're gonna use ZXW to check what diode mode is supposed to be. Because if we don't actually have our solder lug on there, then our diode mode is going to be OL, open line. But if it is, then we are going to get back to the ZXW reading, which is, for that spot, it's supposed to be 0.738. So let's go check and see if we have gotten back to 0.7-ish, right? So let's go red probe on ground. Let's guess that this one here is ground. And we've got on this one 0.7, and on that one also 0.7. Okay, so we have successfully put a pad back on that spot. So now, with that done, let's see if that's the only change that we made to this entire board. Let's go back and see, does that cure our fake temperature sensor problem, that goddamn fake temperature warning? All right, so let's get back to the overhead cam. Here it is, hand cam. Get that out of here, and we are going to go back. So this is a eye socket that we use for, you know, whenever we're working on a 12 Pro Max that we have to split the board in half to work on independently, the top board or the bottom board. And it kind of is pretty self-explanatory of how this goes together. This is our top pick. So I am going to go to the Gadget Repair Expo conference. Very excited, in San Antonio. It's in October, and I have been asked to come up with the fastest TriStar in the West, the big microsoldering challenge, so that we can crown a king microsolderer, which has a $500 prize. So we got to be serious. So there's going to be a lot of people that want to compete. So we were talking around in here about like what kind of like qualifying event or how can we make people submit some work to qualify for the big contest at the Gadget Repair Expo. And one thing I suggested today was, in these like eye sockets, what the heck is this thing? Who can tell me? If you can tell me what this thing is for, then you automatically qualify to get into the competition. So that was one idea that we had. So I'd love to hear your ideas on how we can make a fair, all's fair, something that is very, testable. There's a clear winner for a microsoldering competition. I've got a lot of ideas, but I would love to hear what you guys think. What would be actually feasible? Because there's, how much time do people want to sit around and watch people, do a TriStar job? Or I was thinking maybe reball a CPU, because that, has a little bit of skill to it. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? All right, here is everything is set up. We have our charge port, our screen, and everything is going on. So gadgetrepairexpo.com. I think the tickets are $100 to go. And it is being organized by Nicole Russell of Cellbotics and colleagues. And I've talked to her, and I really like her. So I think that it'll be really fun. I think the industry does need a dedicated independent repair conference. So I'm excited about that. Okay, now let's prompt this sucker to boot and see what happens. So we're going to prompt it to boot. Now, last time we did this, when we didn't just rip out the charge port, it wouldn't let us get the data. It would boot up with that temperature error. So let's see. Do we still get the fake temperature error or not? So we've got an Apple logo, and we are going to see. Reballing is a trip to watch. That is true. All right. The stream's current bit rate is lower than recommended. Well, that is unfortunate. And look at that. It booted up with no temperature warning. In fact, we can get the data. So here we go. What's this guy's passcode? I forget. Something with some threes. 03, 01. Nope. I better look it up. This guy. This one. 0310. All right. 0310. There we go. Look at that. Now we can collect all those precious baby pictures off of this. Woohoo! And it was never the charge port. It wasn't the charge port all along. It was the temperature sensing circuitry. So now let's do a little bit of a deep dive on this, because this isn't going to be the first time that a problem like this, or it's not going to be the only time that a problem like this really gets in your way of iPhone repair or iPhone data recovery. So let's kind of dig into the details, because that's going to lead me to some ideas for a second experiment that I haven't actually done yet. So let's go back to ZXW and see what the heck, now that we know that that was indeed the temperature error, what the heck is up with it? All right, so let's head over to ZXW. Where is it? ZXW, tell us more. And let's kind of click on it. So this is what we fixed. Bing. NTC radio PASE. Now let's see. Where does that go? Now there's no schematic that I know of for the 12 Pro Max. So we can just kind of look around in ZXW and see how that is all connected. All right, so we have a connection from the top board to the bottom board. So there's the bottom board. So on the bottom board is a thermistor. So let's see what we're talking about that. So from the top board, missing pad, we replaced the pad. Now that top board, including the PMU, can talk to the bottom board, go through the bottom board, and talk to this guy right here. I mean, this seems like so not a big deal. whatever this guy is, R5040, you're the bad guy. R5040 is going to be a special resistor that changes its resistance value in a very predictable way that you can map out with math and put it in a circuit to deduce the temperature in that spot. Pretty cool, right? And so as these devices, these phones, have to do more and more stuff, they have to cool themselves. And unlike a computer with a fan and a heat sink, phones don't have fans, right? So they just get hot. You feel your phone, like it gets hot sometimes. That thing's ability to like kind of cool itself down it's kind of the same as a human being that's has to just sort of evaporate sweat, right? So if you go out for a run in the summer, you're sweating on the top of your head, on the bottom of your feet, everywhere, where you're trying to help air evaporate sweat to cool you. Well, these phones are transferring heat all through the metal ground of the phone, all those soldered on shields of the phone, into the body of the phone, into your hand, and it's pretty crappy way to get rid of heat, right? I mean, it's a fancy computer. It's so crazy. We've got this guy over there. This guy's driving me crazy. This guy has 5 terabytes of data on a phone. I mean, it is kind of messed up. It's a 1 terabyte phone, but that phone thinks it has 5 terabytes of data. That guy's got a 4+ terabyte iCloud account. It cannot hold all of the data that the phone has amassed. It's insane. That's more than the desktop computer over there. Crazy. Every day we've been like adding more storage, and it just keeps filling it up. Like, it's insane. These are computers in the size of our hand. And here is how they are keeping track of whether or not they're going to kill themselves from overheating, is these little things like a thermistor. Now, thermistor, so R5040 is a special resistor, a thermal resistor, thermistor, where its resistance is going to change based on the local heat. So it's a heat sensor, right? Now this guy is a heat sensor on the bottom board, and it's going to communicate up through the top board. And let's look over, if we wanted to kind of look into, what can we learn about thermistors in general, because these things are in lots of places. Where is here we go, browser window. All right, let's click over here and look up here. This is, if you go to Mouser or DigiKey and you're just like looking to replace one of these guys, then it'll kind of lead you to these companies that make these thermistors, and you can read more about it. And you should, right? This is like huge. It's such a troll, these thermal sensors that are making these 3-minute loops all over the place. So here's a page that I liked where it kind of lets us click around a little bit, and we can see different kinds. And we can see that the resistance at room temperature, 25 degrees Celsius, is variable for a bunch of these, and then they're going to be used in circuitry. But let's look at this. Let's look at basic knowledge, right? So we're going to click here on basic knowledge, and basic knowledge is going to tell us what is NTC thermistor. So NTC stands for negative temperature coefficient. So think this is part of a temperature sensing circuit. And here it is. NTC thermistors are electronic components which lower the resistance when the temperature increases. So the resistance goes down when the temperature goes up. So for whatever reason, this temperature sensing error that seems to have to do with the charge port, like I'm not sure how the charge port makes the device look for this thermistor, but that must be what it's doing. And for whatever reason, when that pad is severed and it goes looking for that, it just decides that the resistance has gone down to 0, and therefore it thinks the temperature is sky high, right? So that's what's going on, is that the chip, which is the power, I believe it's the PMIC, the PMU, when the chip senses the resistance is super low, even though it's not, then it interprets that as the temperature is really high. You know what? What it's probably doing is comparing the data between two different thermistors in order to make that calculation. That's really the only thing that makes sense. That's the only thing that would relate it to the charge port. All right, so then it kind of tells us a little bit about these things where it looks like a resistor, but there's special resistors that have like two different metals on the end. So they're made of this stuff, an electrode is formed, blah, 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 blah. And then it has this little graph that they all have, which is as the resistance will change in a very predictable way that allows the system to calculate the temperature. Okay, the resistance will change by 3 to 5% per degree of temperature change, and it's used as a general temperature sensor. Example, smartphones, yes, just like this, right? And then I love this. They're like, when you're using a smartphone, have you ever experienced the body of the phone gets hot? Yes. And so it, says there's no fan. I love this. Is exactly what I said. This is so great. So yeah, these things are going to be more and more common. And so you got to look around for and correct your NTC problems. Now, here's the second experiment that I think I'm going to think about it and do it later. And I'd love to hear in the comments what you think we should actually do. So here's my idea. I was thinking, I think this is a pretty common problem. It happened in here pretty recently. Ryan knows that the iPhone 11 requires an NTC connection from the power button. And so he was fixing it for a customer, and that customer had a really corroded power button. So he went around and he harvested the power button off of all of these iPhone 11 bottom boards that I use for data recovery. Well, I need that same connector because I need to plug in a power button so that my NTC circuits are okay. And I didn't have any. And I thought that was really annoying, right? So what if there was a way to kind of to trick this system? So let's think about it. Can we figure out what the little simple circuit of this thermistor is doing? Yes, it is going to have a certain resistance based on temperature. So doesn't that mean that we could take a system where we're missing the actual thermistor resistor? So it's in the power button or in the charge port or who knows where it is. It's damaged or gone, or it's on the bottom board. And we're trying to recover the data from the top board only. And I think you could do this. The top board in the iPhone 12 Pro is perfectly recoverable, but the top board in the 12 Pro Max requires a thumbs up from this thermistor on the bottom board. So what could we do about it? Could we just take a static resistor and figure out, look at this data sheet, right? Here's an example data sheet from the same company. Could we just figure out, well, the resistance at room temperature, so the chill 25 degrees laying your phone laying around, 25 degrees Celsius, that's the normal temperature. It says if it's such and such part number thermistor, then it's going to be a 10 kilo ohm resistor. If it's this other one, it's a 68 kilo ohm. So could we go figure out what static resistor that we could just kind of take a wire, solder it, kind of to complete the circuit without requiring whatever part it is that we're missing? Like this, let's say we've got a horribly trashed bottom board. Well, you're not going to need a bottom board if you could just mimic this circuitry. What do you guys think? Or could we simply figure that, the resistor in circuit is going to allow there to be a certain voltage or current that's detected by the listening chip? So could we inject a certain small voltage into that circuitry and just leave the resistor part off of it, right? Could I solder a wire to a pad, wire to ground, and just inject a volt into that line, and then maybe make 1.2 volts or maybe 2 volts or whatever it is at once? Could I figure that out so that I could just sort of pretend I was the thermistor, right? I don't know. So those are all the things that that I'm thinking about doing for thermistor experiments, and I would love to hear in the chat, which is live now, and after I hit stop streaming, this video will turn into a static video, and I would love to hear in the comments below on how you would set up an experiment to just kind of see. I think I'd like to find out, could I recover data from this phone from the top board only without requiring the bottom board at all. So right now, if I were to separate the bottom board from the top board, I would get temperature problems and I would get 3-minute reboot loops because of sensor problems. So how could I make an artificial system so that I don't need the 12 Pro Max eye socket? What do you guys think? Let's see if I can click over and see any chat. Let's see. Chan Lee's gonna come out with this thing next week. Great, that would be awesome. It would be interesting to see how it behaves. Somebody says it's 1 a.m. I'm just tuning in. Let's see, NTC circuit is often a voltage divider with the NTC as the top resistor, and then an ADC in a microcontroller reads the voltage at the middle junction. And then it does some math and poof, temperature pops out. Okay. Let's see. There was an iPhone that had 5 terabytes of data. Yes. That one's the top craziest one, I think. I mean, it's insane. He's got a terabyte of just photos and videos. He had like 32 gigs of just voice memos. It was insane. It's been here for a really long time. Okay, so, all right, that I think is just some food for thought. I'd love to hear some more comments about how we might play around with thermistor and temperature sensing so that we don't have to fix, every single one of these, what's becoming increasingly more and more and more of these little sensors that get into the way of getting a phone to be stable. Not just these, but also the Samsung and Android devices. We're seeing these things as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, but for now, if you just fast forwarded to the end, we have solved, fixed, completely abolished our iPhone 12 Pro Max fake temperature warning screen by finding an open spot on an NTC line for a PA, probably power amplifier SE line on the top board. We replaced it with a solder lug and put it back together in the eye socket, and all is well, and now we're able to recover the data. Do you also fix Android devices for data recovery only? Yes, we do. And if you have a device that needs data recovery, maybe this happened to your phone, then you can always reach out. Go to iPadRehab.com and click the big red Get Started button that's right at the top, and you can just fill out a no obligation quote. There's, we always operate with no fix, no fee, and we're always happy to take a look, even if it's something that you don't normally see on the channel. We're always interested in new things to learn. All right, and then come sign up for our course if you want to learn how to do this stuff yourself. It's super fun. It's super fun, and I love being able to experiment. All right, that is it for today, and I will see you next time.